Hey, everybody. This is Kalyn Kahler with Defector. I'm here with another episode of QB2, the show where we talk to only my favorite players in football, the backups, the backup quarterbacks in particular. This is where they get the floor to share their story. This is their moment. You don't see it a lot in football, but this is a place where we get to talk to them. Today's guest, I'm really excited about. This is my classmate from the class of 2015 at Northwestern University. Go Cats. He was drafted in the 7th round by the Denver Broncos. And he broke the longest postseason win drought in college football history with his 2013 Gator Bowl win. Since the Broncos drafted him, he has been in pretty much every quarterback role imaginable. He's been Peyton Manning's successor. He was a practice squad veteran and quarantine quarterback. He's come off the bench to lead comeback victories. He's been benched himself, and he's even been traded. He's currently in Chicago backing up Justin Fields. Welcome to QB2, Trevor Siemian. How are you?
Hey, Kalyn. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for an intro.
Listen, I had to sum up your career, in one paragraph. It was hard to do. You've done it all, man. And I want to start with kind of what I think makes you unique as a backup quarterback. Your college career, was not your typical backup quarterback career. Most of them come in as like 3 or 4 year starters, and they kind of have to adjust their mindset to then becoming a backup. But you were already kind of used to that in college, coming off the bench for Kane Coulter and sort of a QB platoon system. And then your senior year, when you finally were the starter, you end up tearing your ACL, and it wasn't even, a statistically great year for you. So I know you had a career lined up in commercial real estate. Tell me like what your mindset and your expectations were coming into the NFL.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to get the most out of it as I could, maximize my time, and I didn't know how long that was going to be coming into Denver. Getting drafted was a blessing, and I was thrilled to be there, but it took me a little bit to kind of say, hey, I belong here. So I would say like sometime through that summer, my rookie year, I said, man, I can do this. Like, I think I got a shot. And that was a good dose of confidence, I think, going forward. But yeah, definitely interesting. And it seems like forever ago.
What was there a specific moment where that summer of your rookie year where you felt like, I think I can do this?
Yeah, I think I had Greg Knapp was my quarterback coach, and he was awesome. Rest in peace to Coach Knapp. But I think at some point he might have said something to me. Maybe we were watching tape 101, and I had a moment in myself, and I said, oh yeah, I think I got a chance. So yeah, and obviously you're learning so much is happening at that time, your rookie year. But yeah.
So as I mentioned in my intro, you have been in pretty much every quarterback situation imaginable. I mean, I'm sure there's more that will happen to you later in your career that we haven't even thought of yet, but you've done a lot and you've been in a bunch of different positions. How would you describe where you are now in your career, heading into your 8th season now in Chicago, backing up Justin Fields? Like, what stage do you feel like you're in?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think for me, everywhere I've been, I've just tried to like maximize my value and where I'm at. Really, from a day-to-day basis, just maximize what I can bring to the football team and go from there. So it's that's kind of an introspective question I don't really ask myself a lot. I think I can still play at a high level, and I don't think Chicago would have brought me here if they don't think I could play, right? But my role is definitely to be Justin's guy and be the backup here and help him out as best I can, while at the same time being ready to play. As a backup, you really are one play away, and you better make sure you're crossing your eyes or crossing your T's and dotting your I's, I should say.
Don't cross your
Crossing your T's, whatever. But yeah, so yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, but I don't think about it like holistically. Hopefully I play several more years and I can go back and look at each year and where I was at, but tough when you're in the moment to think of it that way, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like you're kind of in like a middle point. Like we've had Josh McCown on here who was like very clearly at the end of his career, turned into sort of that coach mentor role. And that was like obviously his role. And like Brian Hoyer, we had on kind of in a similar situation, but in the middle of his career, he was, still getting opportunities to start and, still in the middle of it. And I feel like you're probably like still kind of in that middle range. And one thing you just said I wanted to follow up on, you're here to help Justin, but you also need to be ready to play. How do you find the balance between supporting a starter and not like encroaching on a starter, or I don't want to use the word like threatening, but like, being a presence that they have to like watch out for? Like, what is that balance?
Yeah, I think it just starts with your relationship, right? I think you got to have a rock solid relationship to begin with the starter, and I think that's a pretty important part of the room. I feel like the starter's got to know that he can count on his backup, and anytime, all the healthy quarterback rooms I've been in, that's been the dynamic. And for Justin, I just want him to know that that's my role, and I'm here for him. And then at the same time, getting ready to play and towing that line between you're a play away. I found that when you're getting the starter ready to play and you're doing everything on the back end to give him the information or support whatever it is, you're also in turn getting yourself ready to go too. So it's a win-win in that sense.
What do you think people don't understand about the job of a backup quarterback or misconstrue? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Misconstrue, I don't know. Yeah, I think maybe just the day-to-day, right? Without you're in the shadows, but things happen at one. You're literally a second and a half or whatever, one freak play away from being into the fire, and that happens. In a minute's time, they say, "Hey, where's your helmet? Get ready to go." And it's a rush. I mean, obviously you don't want to see anybody get hurt, but for so long during the season, you're not really getting any reps. You're practicing with the scout team. You're obviously wired in the meetings as best you can and all that, and doing everything you can physically, but at the same time, you're not getting the real reps with the ones. So you got to always in the back of your head, visualize and put yourself in that situation. Hey, second play of the game, I could be in this thing, and we're trying to win the game. So just that kind of dynamic and that visualization for me, I think is kind of unique to the rest of the team, because there's only 53 guys on the team, and 52 of those guys are probably, or 46, whoever dresses, they're going to play.
Yeah.
You don't know if you're playing, or you're playing 60 snaps, or so it's interesting.
Yeah. So when you first answered that, obviously last season you did have a moment like that with Jameis, tearing his ACL in New Orleans. Take me into that moment. Like, what is that like for you mentally? Kind of describe where you were on the sideline and having to get in the game.
Yeah, I think I was, I remember before that game, actually, I took an extra scoop of pre-workout. And which, looking back, I don't know if it was a mistake or not, but I remember on the sidelines being pretty fired up. I was shouting a lot, and not that I wasn't ready to play. I was just, I was fired up. And sure enough, I think it was late first quarter, early second quarter. Yeah, so it was, but you're right in the thick of it within, a couple minutes. So a lot of fun though. A lot of fun.
Yeah. So when you're fired up on the sideline, like, aren't you normally fired up, or you're saying you were even more fired up on that day for that game?
More than usual, I would say.
Was it just because it was kind of that was like a rival game, right? Was the Buccaneers?
It was the Bucs, yeah.
Yeah.
Bucs at home earlier in the season, relatively early, but yeah.
So that pre-workout powder, do you think that ended up helping you save that game?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case or not. Because you get either way, you're ready to go. I mean, you're like you get a couple throws on the sideline. I'm like, I don't need any throws. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, let's get in.
I'm loose. But I don't know if it made it. It didn't probably make a difference
Yeah.
3 plays into the game that I was playing.
What is the preparation? So you just mentioned you take a couple throws on the sideline. Is there anything else you need to do before you're like, I'm ready? You know, obviously find your helmet. What is the step-by-step of like, I'm entering the game now? Is there anything else that you need to do to feel like you can get in there?
Yeah, steps are find your helmet, throw a couple balls, and then take maybe a snap or two at the center.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
playing.
And is that's to get your cadence?
That's just to get an exchange with the center because like I said, you're during the week you're taking snaps with the backup center all week. You might take a few in center quarterback exchange pre-practice, but usually you're not spending a lot of time with the starting center.
Yeah. And where is your helmet typically? Is it usually near you or where is it on the sideline?
Yeah, I think you usually put them right by where all the quarterbacks sit. So, usually in that part of the bench that you're at, your helmet is with the other guy. And yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, you played for you have been a part of 6 different organizations in the NFL. And when I talked to Drew Stanton, he kind of described it as each team, he said 32 different corporations operating completely differently. And he had experience playing a bunch of different places as well. So how have you noticed like teams' identities being different? And does that come from ownership? Does it come from coaching staff? Does it come from players? How would you describe that from all the places that you've been?
Yeah, I think you definitely, as a player, what you notice firstly, I would say, is the coaching staff and the leadership in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, that kind of sets the temperature for the building, so to speak. So
Mm-hmm.
I think certain places I've been, what it really boiled the personality of the team is the head coach, obviously, and then the older guys in the locker room, and that dynamic is you find that out pretty early, I would say, and it's different everywhere. And there's more than one way to do it, I would say as well. I think it's the more you get around, the more players and teams you see. To me, that's what you see and you're with on a day-to-day basis, and that's the easier part to feel out.
Absolutely. So, every backup I've talked to so far, they always describe what I'll call like their business of football moment where something happens in their career and they're like, oh yeah, this isn't just about my talent or what I can do on the field. There's money involved here and there's a lot of other factors. Josh said it was one time when he was benched because of an injury, but he wasn't really injured. He's like, I could play. Is there anything like that that's happened to you in your career where you're like, yeah, this is a business, like that reality sank in?
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to some guys in the lunchroom. I think getting cut in Tennessee, I was cut for the first time. And I think that's kind of the first. I don't want to say every player needs to go through it, but it's definitely kind of one of those moments where it's I was joking like, yeah, I mean, you're definitely salty after that, and it's eye opening. But
yeah. Did that surprise you? Did that one surprise you? That cut?
Kind of not. I came in late. I came to camp a little later. At the same time, I still thought I had a good shot to make the team. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, there's definitely these moments where you realize, it's a business, and that's the dynamic of it all. And I think as you age too, obviously, right, you're around it more and more. You see more guys come in and out. You kind of have that understanding, but there's no doubt. The locker room is a special place, and it is for the year. But each year, the team dies, and you reset, and there's a lot of turnover. And on an individual basis, it's no different.
And that leads me to literally like my next question on here was I was going to ask you like, roster cutdowns just happened yesterday. Was the 53 cut down, and obviously congratulations, you made the team. But it sounds like that is a topic of conversation today in the Bears cafeteria. Do you get antsy at this time of year, even if you feel confident in what you've done and what like, is there a little bit of nervous energy going on?
Yeah, I think anytime that the team, I mean, we had 80 guys in here 2 days ago, and then yesterday we had 50 guys practicing or whatever it was. So anytime the team, that's a pretty drastic change as far as
Yeah.
practice structure, just seeing guys that you've been with the last 6 months or whatever it is. So anytime there's that going on, it's definitely it's a different deal, and it shakes you up a little bit too. So I would just say, yeah, that change in one day really definitely is unique to football, I would say, or pro sports rather than any other business for sure.
Yeah. And because we are at this time of year, there's still, I believe there's only one ongoing quarterback competition in the league right now in Pittsburgh. And I know you have been part of a few of them, and you won in 2016 in Denver, which was, everyone was surprised. How could a 7th-round quarterback win the job after Peyton Manning has left? And that was, big news at the time. So I wanted to ask you, with that quarterback competition in particular, did you is there ever a point where you're like, I think it's my job, just based off of how practice is going, or starting the 3rd preseason game? How do you, in that situation, did you have a good feeling about it, or what did you know during that competition?
I didn't know much. And at the same time I was confident that I could be the guy. Looking back, I'm trying to remember. And I think what helped me too is I didn't think about it too much. It was kind of
Yeah.
like you didn't know what you didn't know kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I was so young, and I was the team was so good, and I was really well coached. So I just literally was taking it one day at a time. And at the same time too, like you said, I was 7th-round guy. I didn't really have much to lose. So like I said, I didn't know what I didn't know. And after the 3rd preseason game, I kind of had a feeling that I'd be the guy, but I didn't know again. And then obviously got the news. I think Coach Koob let me know shortly thereafter. But yeah.
So the coaching staff in that situation, they were really keeping it kind of close to the vest. If they had any, leader or whatever, it was not something they were sharing with the quarterbacks.
Yeah, and too, I would say anytime the reps are the most indicative of
Yeah.
how coaches feel about you. I don't know if you've seen that anybody you've talked to has told you that. Like if you're getting reps with the starters, they're not just there's not enough reps to waste people's time with that sort of thing. So
Right. Totally.
again, I wasn't hyper focused on that, but looking back, it's a pretty good indicator of how you're viewed.
Right. So you weren't charting it yourself, I got 12 today, and
No chance.
Mark Sanchez got 8 or something,
No, I was
Okay.
not doing that.
Got it. If you were a coach, how would you structure a quarterback competition? How do you feel the best way to handle it is?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I feel
I think
they're
the
so
only way to do it
tricky.
is to distribute the reps evenly with the same group. So I think it's tough. Sometimes a guy plays with the ones all day and the other guy plays with the twos. One practices better, but there's a lot that goes into playing quarterback that's kind of circumstantial, and how the players are playing around you. What's the offensive line looking like? Are the receivers getting separation? So it's just different level. I think the only fair way to do it would be get guys even reps against evenly matched players as best you can. Obviously, it's a game, and there's different players all over the place. But that would be my thought on it.
Yeah. When Brian Hoyer was on last week, he brought up an interesting point. He said he felt like in the quarterback competitions he'd been part of that extended into training camp, he felt like he could see his teammates picking sides subconsciously. It might not be a intentional thing, but you end up feeling more comfortable with one guy versus another guy. And he would see people kind of bumping back in line in a drill, or bumping forward to be with a certain quarterback. Yeah. Did you ever notice teammates picking sides at any point in Denver when you were competing for the job?
I wouldn't say picking sides. I do, I think maybe because we had a good room and we all got along well. I would say, I don't know what Brian's situation was, but I think too at the end, like towards once you start getting to camp and the games start creeping up on you and they're around the corner, I think guys want to know who's going to play
Yeah.
quarterback or who they're going to be playing with. So I think that's an element of it too.
Yeah.
In all these cases, you want to evaluate and find who the best guy is for your team. And I get the idea not rushing that, but at the same time, and in the sense of continuity and especially at quarterback, that leadership component of it, I think guys kind of want to know who's going to be playing for them. So I think there is part of that too, where guys get a little antsy and they want to know who the 11 guys are going to be playing with are.
So last year in New Orleans, Taysom Hill, that must have been a very unique quarterback room because Taysom was not just your quarterback. He is, a utility guy used in several different ways. Was that a unique experience to be part of a quarterback room where one of the quarterbacks also plays different positions? And how did that affect the rest of your roles?
Oh, for sure. It was unique for sure because Taysom is as unique as it gets as a football player in the league, right? So it was kind of, I saw the model the year before when I was with Drew, right? They had the same kind of setup where Drew played, Jameis was the backup, but Taysom would play obviously in his little packages, but started games as well. So I'd kind of seen the model the year before, and it was just kind of, same thing, plug and play with me, inserted in Jameis's role from the year prior. So I had seen it, but definitely unique. But again, like really cool. Cool if nothing else, just seeing how we handle the different packages, see Taysom do all these crazy things. I had definitely never been around anything like that.
And did you so were all three of you, I don't know how to ask this question, but would you normally be dressing for a game? Like if Jameis is the starter, Taysom's in the game playing on offense in different roles, you're dressed on the sideline because if Taysom got hurt and Jameis got hurt, you need to have another guy ready to go. Do you know what I'm trying to ask here? Would you normally be dressing in a different situation like that if you didn't have a quarterback who played other roles?
I don't think. I think rarely teams dress three quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right. So the component of Taysom playing different positions, and also it's not really fair to him, right, to have to ask him to play a bunch of positions, but at the same time be ready to play quarterback if something happens, the second play of the game. So I think that was the thinking there. But usually teams still dress two guys, and then you either have an inactive guy or a practice squad guy behind them.
Right, totally. So Taysom this year is switching to tight end full time. Dennis Allen, who's the new head coach in New Orleans, said he wanted to do that because he didn't want a distraction, essentially. Like he said, quote, if Jameis is out there playing quarterback, I don't really like Taysom standing next to me on the sideline. So did you see, I guess I'm wondering, did you think it worked last year in that arrangement, or is it confusing to the starter to have another quarterback or a player like Taysom who could do a bunch of different things?
No, I don't think so, because they did it with Drew. And if friggin' Drew Brees is doing it, then I think anybody else can. But selfishly as a player, you want to be out there every play you can, right? But it's just a different thing. Kind of reminded me a little bit of going back to Northwestern when I wouldn't be on the field all the time, and you're going, in and out, obviously on a much less scale because, whoever was playing quarterback in New Orleans was taking, 90% of the snaps.
Yeah.
So it wasn't to that extent, but there was a little, that personnel grouping, you're going in and out. So
when you get to New Orleans, it's in 2020, it was mid-season, late in the season. How do you adjust and cram and try to learn everything you can when you enter a team in that situation?
Yeah, you try to do as best you can, but I think when I got there, and in most situations, the coaches they'll tell you, hey, focus on this, this, and this, in the case you do have to play. So it's not like you get there in mid-season and they're throwing the whole entire playbook at you and holding you accountable for everything they've ever installed. So I remember when I got there, and I never actually dressed that first year, but Sean told me, focus on, these 20 plays or, a couple general plays that you've used in your history that everybody knows. So they're not asking you to do everything, because, they need somebody to come in and function. If you ask a guy to do everything, he's probably going to do close to nothing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
They're smart about it in that way too.
Okay, awesome. Let's go to the quick hitters. So answer these in like one sentence. We're gonna go boom, boom, boom through them. Do you get recognized in public? What level of fame do you think that you're at?
Not usually.
Okay,
In Chicago, mostly by Northwestern folks.
true. That's true. That's a good point. Best QB room you've been part of, or your favorite?
This one.
Oh, good answer. And then were you surprised that Sean Payton stepped away from coaching, or did you see that coming for him?
Yeah, I was surprised.
Gotcha. Okay, let's do our QB2 challenge. So I'm gonna put 1 minute on the clock. You're gonna try to name as many backups as you can in the league right now. And if they're on a practice squad by the end of the day, I will give you that point. So I'm gonna write them down and keep up with you. Here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. 1 minute.
Okay. I'm going to say Jordan Love, Trevor Siemian, Nate Sudfeld.
You count, so that was good.
Okay, good. I'm going to say Chad Henne, Brian Hoyer, Colt McCoy, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Nice. 30
Chase
seconds.
Daniel,
Good.
Teddy Bridgewater, Blaine Gabbert,
Nice.
Taylor Heineke,
15.
Joe Flacco count.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
5.
Brett Rippon
Good.
and Drew Lock.
Nice. Okay. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14. So close. So close to our 17. That was a good.
Brian got 17.
Yeah, but guess what? He didn't say himself. So
Oh, really?
I feel like you should get a bonus point because you're smart enough to know, wait, I am one. I'm sitting right here. I'm going to say my own name.
Yeah.
So that was really good. Trevor, thank you so much for joining me on QB2. Have a great practice and a great 2022 NFL season.
Awesome. Thanks, Kalyn. Thanks for having me on. Go Cats.
Thanks. Go Cats. That's right.